get on here and talk to you about how to set more powerful intentions or more powerful goals, and why the why behind your goal might actually be currently hindering your success. So what I'm talking about here today is, have you got a habit you've been trying to change, or a new habit you've been trying to bring into your life for a long time, that you sort of get going on it and then all of a sudden it just seems to fizzle out and you can't keep the momentum and you go back to your old habits? Or is there something that you've really wanted to have happen in your life? Hi, Angela. And you've been working towards it and you really, really want it, but for whatever reason you kind of maybe even attain it, but then once you've reached it, your good habits all dissipate and then you go back to normal. So what I'm really talking about here is, you want something, you maybe either go for it and get it but then lose it again, or you just can't quite seem to get there. Now, what I want to talk about today, and Angela may have already heard this because she's in my meditation challenge, but I talked about this idea with them last week, and that is the importance of, why are we choosing to go after the thing that we want to change or want to shift? Now, what I'm talking about here is, if our why, our intention behind what we want to do, comes from a place of fear or lack, or a desire that is based on an ego narrative, meaning that it comes from a place of, there's something wrong with me, or I don't like this about me, I want it to be different, and it comes from that place of, this isn't good, so let's have something else, it's going to be a lot harder to achieve and sustain and attain that goal because of the place that it comes from. So there's a really different energy within us when we are motivating or driving ourselves forward from a place like that, from that place of fear. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I mean by that in a second. Or when we're chasing it from that place of lack, in our ego space, saying, and so often when we're talking about losing weight, that you're not beautiful when you look like this, or this, you shouldn't be this size, and you find more love, you'll have more friends if you have less weight, or whatever that goal that is. But so often our weight loss goals come from a place of, I'm not good enough, I need to look a different way in order to be happy. So that's always going to feel like a fight, right? That's always going to feel like every time you deny yourself something to eat or something, push yourself to exercise, you're coming from this place of self-loathing and self-hate. That's a very, very different energy to, let's say, switching that to say, I want to feel my absolute best because I know how much, I love who I am, and I love myself so deeply that I want to be healthy and I want to feel strong. We're going to talk about really how to make sure your goal aligns that way in a second. So this is the idea that I'm talking about. Where does your goal and your why come from? Now, a lot of the time, if I ask you, what is the intention behind your goal? What is the reason that you want to create this particular shift in your life? You'll say to me something really nice, like, I feel really good when I go to the gym all the time, and I feel really good when I work out regularly, and I feel really good when I eat well. And so that's why I want it. And you could be thinking, that's perfectly reasonable reason to have, is the why behind my goal. And you're right, it is. But I want you to just take some time and check in, why do you want that? And so you ask yourself, okay, a series of questions, and I'm going to take you through an example in a second of how I apply this to myself. So I'm not just giving you some random examples. But I want you to ask yourself, why do I want that goal, that intention? Why? And then ask yourself again, when you've answered that question, why is that important? Keep going, just like a little kid, but why? But why? But why? And I want you to sort of peel back, because your first intention there, it's beautiful, but it's here at the surface. And when you ask the next why, you go a little bit deeper. What's the deeper meaning behind this why? And then you come to this answer, and you go, okay, what's the deeper meaning behind that? And you get another answer. What about the deeper meaning behind that? And you might be thinking, by the time you get 3 layers deep, like, why is she asking me to do this? This is insane. Once you get 3-4 layers deeper, I want you to ask yourself this question, and this is the most important part of this questioning. What might be the fear or limiting belief that is truly behind this why? And I'm going to guarantee you, I'm going to say 99.9%, because you're a human and you have an ego and we are all in this experience together, that underneath this really nice, very nice, credible, positive intention is actually some underlying fear or limiting belief. And when I say limiting belief, we're talking about that idea that you're not good enough as you are, that you're not lovable as you are, that you're not funny enough, pretty enough, that you're not successful enough, that you fear failure, or you fear being seen as a failure, or you fear putting yourself out there. It's going to be unique to you what that is, but there will be a fear under that. When you get to this space and you have this moment of realization, it's going to feel a little bit shocking. It was for me when I recently went through this questioning myself, and I'll take you through that in a second. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize that was what was truly underneath the surface here motivating me. And that is why it has been a challenge. That's why it's been hard for me to stick to it, because it's not coming from a place of love. It was coming from a place of fear. So it's important for you to create this kind of awareness, because when we really understand the root of things, it's like the source, the cause of things, we can really affect change. When we're just sort of living up here on the surface of our lives, we're just like addressing symptoms. It's like we can put a band-aid on things, or we can just, we can eat better, or we can do a meditation, or we can do a yoga class. I'm like, yeah, I'm working towards my goals. I feel good. But underneath that, there's still something deeper that needs to be seen and recognized and understood, because we're just playing with the surface unless we go there. So we want to go a few layers deeper to understand what is that true motivation. And it's okay that it is motivated by fear, because what we can do is shift that energy back to a place of love. Now, this takes a little bit of work, but there's a questioning process you can go through. So once you get to that place and you understand that, okay, maybe my desire to lose weight, or maybe my desire to change jobs, or maybe my desire to leave a relationship or want a relationship comes from this place, what do I do? So if you understand that all of a sudden, okay, it's coming from fear, what do you know? What do you know here in your heart about yourself, thinking about your entire life, that is the actual opposite of this fear that is driving your goal here? And when I say that, what I mean is when you think that perhaps you have to lose weight because, you're not lovable as you are, you stand there and say, okay, what do I know to be true about that? You stop and you step out of that sort of dark shadow and you step over into the spotlight and you say, well, you know what? I have a lot of friends who love me exactly as I am. I have, heaps of friends, great conversation. There is something beautiful about me. Maybe I cannot see it, but there are other people like me and they do love me. If I get out of my headspace and my ego, I see that. And you can go through this questioning of like, what is actually the opposite? Because what you've come across here is a limiting belief. It's a false belief. It is not true. The fear you feel, the limitation you put on yourself, this belief or story that you've created, it isn't real. And you don't have to believe it. You don't have to be driven by it. You can choose to step into what is the truth here. And this will be a practice for you to move into your truth and let your truth be what guides you and drives you to seek this change. And you do it from a place of, I love and care about myself, rather than I dislike this about myself, or this isn't good about me. And there is a totally different energy when we move into that place of, I'm doing this for me, because I care about me, rather than because I dislike this about me. This is such a sucking down energy of like, you're not enough. It's never enough. There's pressure. It's motivated by, that you're always thinking you're going to fail at this, because you're actually really not truly believing you're worthy of it, deserving of it, can have it, are good enough. Hard to attain. So if that's been your experience with something you've really wanted to implement in your life or change or shift, you need to do this questioning, get to the root of that why, and then flip over to here, be like, okay, I see this limitation, I see this belief, and understanding and knowing that's not true unless I believe it. If I listen and I give that and say, yeah, you're right, I'm not lovable without losing 20 kilos, I'm nothing until I do that. That will be your experience. But that's not true. It's not true. So what is true? Here's my little insight for you. You're fucking awesome as you are. Who you are is an incredible human being. It's just this thing you believe that makes you feel like you're not. So step into your truth. What is the truth that I know that is the opposite of this? And I've got some questions, and you can download this. I'm going to create a download so that you can work your way through this and pull yourself back into that place of self-love. So, what do I know for sure that is the opposite of this belief or fear? And start to reconnect with what you do know isn't true about that story. Find the examples in your life. Start to create for yourself that mental proof, but also remind yourself of who you are, what you're capable of, what you have achieved, what you do know can do. And then you start to then build the stairs back up from, here was your surface intention. You got to the root cause of what was really driving that. You're shifting lanes. And now we're going to work our way back out again, opening ourselves up to our goal and our intention from a new place. And so when you really work through that part of the question, you're going to then ask yourself, how can I really reframe my intention now, knowing that who I really am, not this story, not this fear, not this belief. Now that I've really shined light on what the opposite is, what is my more internal motivator? And there's going to be, and really connect with, this comes from, I want this for me because I love me, not because I dislike me. Because this exists in you at all times. Love for yourself. We just don't tap into it because our ego is something we experience so often. And we just need to find these ways to connect with where this source of information is coming from so we can shift, so we can begin to live a life from more self-love, from our higher self, from our soul, from the truth of who we are, this beautiful human that we are, that we're just not letting be expressed and felt and enjoyed because of our ego. And then I really want you to then work your way through reframing why you want this from that place of wholeness, from love, from joy. So I'm going to give you a quick example of how I went through this process of questioning for myself. You may have noticed that I did a meditation challenge at the start of February, and I really wanted to commit to my meditation habit because this was my reason why. So why did I really want to commit to my meditation habit? Because I know how good I feel mentally when I do it daily and how much it helps me feel more grounded, calm, and centered for the day ahead. Now that's a great reason. There's no reason really to dig underneath that because I really wanted to feel good mentally and feel calm and centered. But wait for it. And then I asked myself, why is this important? And I said, okay, it's important because it allows me to respond to my life and what happens around me rather than react to it. It allows me to be kinder and more compassionate in general rather judgmental and harsh. Also another great why. But I asked myself the question again, why is that important to you? And then I said, because when I respond, I'm living more in alignment with who I really am over this side, rather than reacting from my ego over this side. That's how I feel it, ego, soul. And then I asked myself again, why is that important? And I said, it's important to me because who I am when I live from my ego is not who I want to be. It is not how I want to live. And then I was like, okay, wait a second. What is the fear then beneath this why? And then I had this very stark realization in that moment that the fear is that this negative narrative of my ego will take the reins of my mind again and fuck up my life, excuse my French. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that a few years ago, my life here in Japan kind of really got the better of me, but it was all in my head. And the last couple of years, I've had this experience that has helped me understand that it was my mind, it was my thoughts, it was my ego that had created this world of pain for me. And having had that realization and that understanding and being able to shift out of that, I actually fear ever going back there. So I've been looking at my meditation practice as this is what's going to save me. This is what I have to have so I don't have that again. Now, that's a motivation from fear. I'm always going to struggle to do that because I'm coming from this fretful place. And as I actually uncovered that fear for myself, I felt all of that in my body. And it was actually quite shocking. And even reading it to you now, I feel it again. So that's not the energy I want to pursue this goal from. So I asked myself, what do I know for sure is the opposite of this belief or this fear? And so I returned to my body, because this is where our higher self lives. This is where our soul is. This is where our wisdom is. And I checked in with myself to ask, that question. And what I know for sure is that I am super aware of my ego in action. So I do have an awareness of that. I know when it's happening. And then I also know for sure that I do have a deep connection to my soul, to my true self. And I had to remind myself of that. And I do know for sure that meditation is my daily workout to maintain that connection to myself. So that was helpful for me to do a little shift, but I still felt a lingering of the fear here. And I was like, well, that still doesn't really make me feel better. I need to keep going. So just like we peeled back the layers of our surface why, we want to peel back the layers of this new why. And so I asked myself, given what I have just learned, how can I reframe my motivation and feel it from a place of empowered action? And so when I sat with that for a bit, my answer then became that my desire to have a committed practice of meditation is actually an act of self-love and self-care. And that I choose to do my meditation because it supports me to be the real me. So I show up for it and commit to this practice that allows me to have this deeper connection with myself. So this is me now starting to go, okay, I'm going to shift into a really heartfelt reason for this goal. And that answering that question really felt me go, oh, you know what? That actually feels really good. I like this. But there was still a little bit of fear there. So I was like, all right, ask yourself that question again. Can you go a little bit deeper? What is truly important about that you just wrote, that you just said? What truly motivates that? What's truly meaningful about that? And I said to myself, because I know that through the commitment to my meditation practice, I will build and create confidence in my connection to myself and my highest wisdom. And that in the process, I will be able to become my own best friend as I pave the way to hear the best part of me on a daily basis. And because I truly show up for something that's deeply meaningful to me, I know that I will be there for myself and that I can trust myself and that I pursue this goal from a place of love for myself. And when I wrote that, I was like, oh my God, yeah, let's go meditate. So I really want you to, I hope, from hearing my example, you can see how you can move your energy. Like even now I feel it, and maybe because I keep tapping myself on the chest here, but there's an energy to this deeper reason behind my goal that actually lights me up rather than, makes me feel like jelly when I'm in that fear space. Like you don't have that strong footing, you don't have that ground to stand on and go for it. When you switch over to this place of an actually empowered reason deeper from inside of ourselves, it's got energy, it's got drive, it's got that motivation you're looking for, it's got all of the willpower, you don't even need willpower, you just tap into that beautiful energy and it's like it shoots out from you. So I really want to offer that to you if you're feeling like there's something you've been trying to get to stick in your life to shift, or it just feels like hard work trying to achieve something you're trying to achieve. I want you to check in with your why. I am going to create a little download in the next 10 minutes. So if you want a copy of those questions, just leave me a message below saying questions and I will DM them to you. If we're not connected and friends, then look out for that from me. It'll probably be in that other part of your messenger inbox on when you connect with people you don't know. So just leave a comment below if you want those questions. But I would love you to work through that and shift your why so you have more power and you coming at it from a place of, possibility. It's such a different energy and it is going to help you show up for that thing in such a different way and enjoy it. Angela, I'll send you those questions shortly. So I hope you found that helpful. If you go through this questioning and you get stuck or you struggle, and just message me. We can jump on a quick call and I can answer the question for you. I'm happy to do that because it's such a powerful shift. So keep in touch. I hope you found this video today helpful. If you did, I'd love a little thumbs up or a heart. And if you know someone who's struggling as well to shift something in their life, who would benefit from really doing this work of really moving the needle on their why, then tag them in the comments and let them know. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all soon.